Spreading drive-by wisdom to the masses, one listener at a time. This is the Dave Ross Show on News Talk 97.3, KIRO FM.
Now, here's the crusader for common sense, Dave Ross.
Live from Wintersville, Seattle, Washington, USA. I like that parking meters for the homeless idea. Why haven't we tried that yet? Denver's got the biggest program. It's been tried in San Francisco. Chattanooga's going to do it this week. Minneapolis is thinking about it. Las Vegas is considering it. Because that way you handle, people who feel guilty if they don't give can say they gave, without putting it in the hands of somebody who might not spend it wisely. Plus, you can use all those unused coin-op parking meters now, which is sitting around getting rusty. You heard the story last week about the man who pet a strange dog, was bitten, and then 10 days later died of this horrible, horrible bacterial infection. That's led to a wrongful death case. And joining us now is the attorney for the family of the dog bite victim, Chris Davis. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Strange case. First of all, this bacteria, Capnocytophaga canamorsis sepsis.
Correct.
Had you heard about this before this case?
I had not.
And I'm told by the Seattle Times story from last week that this is quite commonly found in the mouths of pets. I thought that, I'd always been taught by my pet-owning friends that a dog's mouth is cleaner than a human being's mouth.
Yeah, I have heard that as well, but I think this case should tell everybody that that's not true.
So in the case of your, the family of your client, I guess he's not your client if he's no longer with us, but the man who died, what were the circumstances? How did he come to pet this dog?
Well, it wasn't actually, the circumstances have, as you just suggested, is not entirely accurate. But before I get to that, what I'd like to do is just give you a quick primer on what the law is.
All right.
So that everybody has, an idea of what the courts look at. So if we go back, over the last 80 to 100 years, there's a significant body of law that deals with these types of cases. And the courts over the years have basically held that, when a dog owner has reason to know that his or her dog is dangerous or likely to bite, doesn't have to have bitten anybody in the past, but to engage in some behavior where it could lead to a bite, then that owner actually has a duty to kill the animal or confine it so it's impossible for that dog to injure any person.
So this would apply even if he hasn't bitten anybody yet?
As long as you can prove that the owner had some knowledge of a trait or propensity of the dog.
Can that go by breed? Because I'm thinking of pit bulls now. Can you
we're talking strictly about behavior.
Actual conduct, okay.
Okay, so regardless of breed. So if the dog acts, for instance, in a menacing way, or is aggressive by barking or, assuming a stance like the dog is going to attack, that would put a reasonable dog owner on notice that the dog is probably dangerous to humans and would likely bite.
All right.
So as that body of law began to develop over the last 80 to 100 years, it became very difficult for dog bite victims to actually prove what the owner knew about his or her animal.
Mm-hmm.
So about 30 years ago, our legislature then enacted a specific statute called the dog bite liability statute, which says that basically it doesn't matter what the dog has done in the past. If your dog bites somebody while that dog is either on your property or public property, the owner is strictly liable for the harm. Doesn't matter what the victim does or does not do.
Really? So even if it's on your own property?
As long as that person is on your own property with your consent.
With your consent, okay.
Okay, then the dog bite liability statute would impose strict liability. However, in that situation, even if I'm on your property with or without your consent, if you had reason to know that the dog was going to act in a certain way and cause harm, or that it would be likely for somebody to come onto your property, not actually with your consent, and be harmed by your dog, then you can still be held liable, strictly liable, regardless of what the victim does.
Okay, suppose somebody has trespassed on your property for the purpose of breaking into your house, or he has broken into your house and is trying to run away and the dog grabs him and bites him.
That probably would not be a successful case, but there are certainly exceptions that would apply.
Huh. So in this case, then, that includes even if the dog causes death by infecting somebody with the germ, the owner probably didn't know the dog had, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And the victim didn't know he had this condition or was susceptible to some sort of disease or bacteria that this dog spread. But basically, our law in this state is you take your victim as you find him. So if the victim was susceptible in some way, you're still responsible for all the harm and damages, even if they're greater due to that pre-existing condition.
Now, was that the case in Kenneth Bach's circumstance? Is the reason that he died from this because he had a particular susceptibility to this bacteria?
Well, not exactly. Everybody has different, immune systems. Some people immune systems can fight a certain cold versus somebody else. The same cold might infect him.
Right.
Okay, so he certainly was susceptible because of a condition that he had years ago.
Well, he was. What was that condition?
He had his spleen removed.
Ah.
Which resulted into a weaker immune system.
I see.
But that was years ago. And
right.
So he had no problems with it, other than the fact that his system was unable to fight certain bacteria or germs compared to somebody else without that.
Okay, now what were the circumstances of him being bitten? He had not met the dog owner, Conrad Haskins, before?
Well, we think he might have because Conrad Haskins was a customer of the storage facility in Monroe. And so he occasionally visited the spot, but he never had taken, to my knowledge, his dog there. So on this particular day, Conrad Haskins goes to this private property, this commercial establishment, and takes his dog. And he allows his dog to apparently wander the grounds at this facility. Now, during that time, there was another customer present, and the dog actually approached that customer and bit that customer on the hand.
Not the victim, but just a third person here.
Correct. And so Mr. Bach had no knowledge of that incident at that time, was not around. Even though Mr. Bach worked at the facility, he was not anywhere near where this incident happened.
But the owner knew?
Well, the victim in that case went to the office to complain about, this dog just bit me, and apparently the dog owner was actually in the office, Mr. Haskins, and said, listen, your dog just bit me, your dog is a danger, you need to, take your dog off of these premises. And the person behind the desk also told Mr. Haskins, listen, dogs are not allowed. And when you signed up for the storage, you agreed not to bring animals. So Mr. Haskins then apparently decided to pay this victim $100 for the bite to his hand.
Okay.
And the victim then said, okay, whatever, I'm going to go get it checked out. He leaves the property and goes home. Mr. Haskins then takes his animal and leaves the office and apparently puts the animal in his truck.
Okay.
After this incident happened, Mr. Bach came
let me just stop you there.
Sure.
So what we have here under the law is a clear case where the owner knows his dog has now exhibited this kind of aggressive behavior, right?
At the very least, at that instant. So at that point in time, the law says, listen, you know now that your dog is a menace and is dangerous to people. So you have a duty to either kill the animal or confine it.
So he confines it to the truck.
So that it's impossible to injure anyone.
It has to be impossible.
Impossible.
Is that what the law uses that word?
The law uses that word. In fact, the case that addresses that approved a jury instruction using that term.
Okay, so as I understand it from the story then, and the story did include the other part about the third person being bitten. So he confines the dog to the truck but leaves a window open, correct?
Well, sort of.
Sort of.
Mr. Bach, who is an employee of the storage facility, learns what happens. He decides then to go out and find the customer with the dog, Mr. Haskins. He sees the dog, apparently, and he sees Mr. Haskins put the dog in his truck and then get in his truck with his driver's side window down. As Mr. Bach approaches the vehicle to talk to him about the incident, Mr. Haskins has his dog on his lap in the driver's seat. And the dog is right there with the window down. And as Mr. Bach, who is basically fulfilling his duty as an employee of the storage facility to say, hey, dogs are not allowed, the dog then lunged out the window and bit Mr. Bach on the hand.
Lunged out the window?
Correct. That's what we believe.
Okay, that's not the version I read.
Well, yeah, and that's not the correct version.
Okay.
Mr. Bach, who was a smart man, would not have reached into a car. In fact, I've heard reports from Mr. Haskins' lawyer that the dog was in the passenger seat, and Mr. Bach went around to the passenger side and voluntarily stuck his hand through the window.
Yeah.
Not true.
Not true. Okay.
Absolutely not true.
Okay. Because that does change the circumstances a little bit.
Well, it should.
Yeah.
And so this is what we know, and this is what we'll be able to prove. And so my point is this, even if Mr. Bach had stuck his or gotten too close perhaps, or stuck his hand too close inside the window, it was the dog owner's responsibility, Mr. Haskins, to make sure that could not happen.
Yeah.
So if that meant...
Now, had he been formally asked, when he was in the office there, after that third person was bitten, had he been formally asked to leave the property or confine the dog by the office manager?
Yeah, he was told that dogs are not allowed.
Okay.
Mr. Haskins knew that.
Yeah.
When you sign up for storage, they give you rules.
Yeah.
Okay, and so one of the rules is that no dogs or cats or animals allowed on the property.
Okay, so if the dog is in the lap of the owner and then lunges at this employee who was just trying to do his job, then, yeah, clearly it sounds like he's responsible. Now, now the question then becomes, why did it become fatal? Because it wouldn't sound... What was the nature of the bite? I mean, how deep did the bite go?
The bite actually drew blood.
Uh-huh.
And
was it on the hand or...
On the hand.
Okay.
So, Mr. Bach cleaned the wound with hydrogen peroxide, bandaged it, and treated it as, most people would with a minor wound.
Did he go see a doctor?
He planned to see a doctor the next day.
Okay. Did he?
He did see a doctor, but by that time, he started experiencing severe pain in his leg. So it turned out that he had the bite had developed into an infection and caused a blood clot.
Oh my gosh!
In his leg.
So in other words, this happened within the space of 24 hours.
Correct.
The spread of the infection. Oh,
correct.
Geez. Yeah.
It's fairly quick. And so from that moment on, things began to deteriorate quite rapidly, to the point where he then was put into a medical-induced coma and then died a few days later. And so the total time, 10 days after the bite, he was pronounced dead.
Wow. So when he saw the doctor the next day, they immediately initiated treatment? They realized something was wrong and they went to work?
Well, they did some diagnostic testing to find out what's going on. They didn't immediately connect it to the dog bite.
Yeah.
It took another, I think, a few hours and a blood culture.
But we're talking about a matter of hours, not days between. Was there a hiatus where it was just getting worse and worse and he wasn't getting any treatment for it?
No, we're talking about, within a day he went to see the doctor. He was being treated and seen from that point forward.
Yeah, okay. Wow. But as you mentioned, he had his spleen removed, and that has an important function in cleansing the blood. So this would what's the medical experts say on this? Had he had his spleen, would he have died of this?
Well, he certainly was more susceptible than somebody with a spleen. However, my medical experts tell me that even if you do have your spleen, you can still succumb to this bacterium.
Yeah. Had he been warned because of this condition, or did he know that because of this he should not approach an aggressive pet because he might be nothing like that?
No, absolutely not. He was never warned and given any type of warning at all. Other than, you need to be more careful when you come down with a sickness to get proper medical attention.
Yeah, yeah. So in other words, it would never have crossed his mind that a dog bite could kill him.
No.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
What are you asking for?
Well, the estate has incurred almost $200,000 in medical bills. Mr. Bach, my doctors say that, his death was agonizing, to say the least. The bacterium led to multiple organ failure, tissue necrosis, which basically means the flesh is dying, peeling off the skin, and it was an agonizing, painful demise. The law allows compensation for what he went through. It allows compensation for his lost earnings that he would have been expected to earn over the course of his life, and for the loss of this, loved family member, this husband, father, and grandfather.
We don't allow punitive damages, though, right?
Yeah, Washington does not allow punitive damages. I mean, we believed, however, that the owner knew even before this day, the day that it happened, that his dog was dangerous to other people.
Yeah.
And in fact, my dog handling experts, who I've worked with in many other cases, have repeatedly told me that in most cases, to the point where when a dog bites another human being, the owner in most cases, 99% of the cases, usually has some knowledge that the dog was going to do this at some point.
And Haskins had the dog put down right after the bite, right?
He had the dog put down, I think, 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah.
I have to point out, though, that he also knew that Mr. Bach was in the ICU due to the dog bite.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew that Mr. Bach was likely to die when he put the dog down.
But you're saying that there was ample evidence that he should have put that dog down long before.
Well, we believe that that's likely the case. Of course, this will come out in a court of law, but it's highly unlikely that this dog acted aggressively against not just one person, but two people on the same day. It's highly unlikely that that was the first instant
time that it happened,
that Mr. Haskins had knowledge that his dog was likely dangerous to people.
Okay, what do you think a just award would be in this case? Total.
I don't know, Dave. I mean, that's really up for a jury to decide.
The jury will decide that?
Say again?
I mean, the jury just sets the figure, or do you suggest one?
Sometimes I suggest, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I let the jury to decide. But I think in the end, that's the jury's prerogative. Mr. Haskins' lawyer has already requested the case be heard by a jury. I haven't.
Yeah.
So he wants the case to be resolved by a jury of 12 people. I was actually willing to let the judge, by himself or herself, resolve it, but the Haskins want a jury, and so they're going to get a jury, and so a jury's going to decide the case.
Yeah. Well,
so I can tell you this, Dave.
Yeah.
We're bringing this, the family wants to bring the suit because of actually what happened and what we believe Haskins knew, and that this incident never should have happened.
Right.
The other thing the family wants the public to realize is what can happen when dog owners who do not adequately protect the public from their animals. And, dog owners that are irresponsible, that should take steps to protect a dangerous dog, and whether that step means you don't take the dog out in public if you know that it's likely to bite somebody, or you don't let it get around other people or other children, whether the step may be so that it's impossible for the dog to injure somebody, this sort of thing can happen. And so they want...
I'm betting dog owners are thinking... a guy with a compromised immune system has a personal responsibility to stay away from pets. I'm betting that's what I'll hear.
Well, my response would be this, it could have been a child. A child has a compromised immune system compared to an adult. I'm a dog owner myself. I love dogs. And what I've done is taken my dog through a 30-day professional handling course to make sure that that animal will not hurt anyone.
Now, if his dog had been in that category, had been trained, and this came completely out of the blue, there would be no case?
Well, there wouldn't be a case under the body of law, which we call common law. There wouldn't be a case there because you couldn't prove that the owner had knowledge of a prior dangerous trait. However, the dog liability statute might impose responsibility if the incident happened in public property, or if the incident happened on the dog owner's property and the person that was bitten was there by the owner, the dog owner's consent.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, thank you very much for setting that up. That's quite a case. I appreciate your time. Chris Davis, the attorney for the family of Kenneth Bach. It's yet another warning to dog owners that the laws are pretty strict. I'm interested, though, in whether anybody thinks it is a mitigating circumstance that the victim in this case had his spleen removed and therefore had a compromised immune system. As the attorney said, he might have died anyway, even if he hadn't had the surgery. But I'm guessing that the other side is going to say, well, you can't hold my client responsible for the fact that this guy was unusually susceptible to the kind of bacteria that was carried in this dog's mouth. We'd like to get your reaction at 888-97-3-KIRO. This is the Dave Ross Show.
Dave Ross on News Talk 97.3, KIRO FM.
Sarah in Snohomish tells me that your son got an infection like this from a cat, similar to the one that killed the guy who was bitten by the dog. Sarah?
Yes, indeed.
The same kind of bacteria, and what happened in that case?
He sustained this infection overnight, and excuse me, he went to work. They sent him, to the doctor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was hospitalized for 10 days.
Jeez, but he survived, obviously.
Yes, thankfully he certainly did survive.
What happened to the cat owner?
I have the cat.
It's your cat.
I have the cat, and she's one person. She just likes
Yikes!
me.
Why do you keep the cat?
Well, I just hate the idea of putting her down, but I do take care of my grandson, my 14-month grandson, and she's hissed at him and.
Well, be careful, because the law is not on your side there. Thank you for the call, 1131.
Now back to the Dave Ross Show on News Talk 97.3, KIRO FM.
Breaking scripture burning news. The guy who not only smoked the Quran, but also smoked the Bible. That's coming up in just a moment. We learned a lot more in the last hour about that story from last week about the dog bite in February, which cost a man his life. Originally, it was described as the victim actually reaching into a car where an aggressive dog was and being bitten, and this strange bacteria just killing him out of the blue. We learned a couple of things. First, the attorney for the family says, no, he didn't reach into the car. The dog was sitting in the owner's lap and lunged at him and bit him. And number two, the victim, guy was bitten, had his spleen removed, which makes him more susceptible to an infection. So the question is, does that somewhat take the dog owner off the hook? We have somebody on the line who is a dog owner and also has a suppressed immune system. That's Bob in Bothell. Bob, you had your spleen out or what?
No, Dave, I'm a transplant recipient, so I take immunosuppressants to protect transplant.
You're a transplant recipient. What did you have transplanted?
Kidney and a pancreas just over 19 years ago.
Wow. Well, I guess it's worked pretty well if you've had it for 19 years. So are you susceptible? If you, and you're on the way to the dog park, it says here?
Yeah, I'm on my way to the off-leash dog park, and I'm also a real estate appraiser. Now, when I'm appraising, I go in people's homes.
Yeah.
If it's a dog, the dog goes outside when I come inside, and when I'm outside, it has to come inside if it shows any sort of aggression. That way I'm separated and there's never a conflict.
Yeah. So do you worry about being bitten then, in a special way that most people don't?
Not really, no. My immune system is suppressed. It's not completely dead.
So what do you think about this case? Does the person who was bitten, the fact that he had his spleen removed, does that take any of the responsibility off the owner?
No, if what the attorney says is true, and it still has to go to court for all that, but if the dog went out and attacked him, it's that dog owner's fault. The other guy, he took appropriate measures. He cleaned the wound. He went and saw the doctor right away. He did everything, I feel, within reason that anybody should do.
Yeah. All right. Good point. Thank you. Have fun with the dog at the dog park. Curtis in Spanaway. Curtis, you're on News Talk 97.3 KIRO FM.
Hey, great. After hearing what the attorney said, I have to say this. I'm pretty much on the side of the attorney. But let me say this. I'm really confused by should we also lie the responsibility on the person that sold the dog or gave the dog to the homeowner or the dog owner is what I'm looking at as well. Because obviously, like with my dog, I adopted my dog. It's a Maltese. I adopted it from a hospital or a clinic.
Yeah.
And they told me the dog was great. We got the dog home, and he was very aggressive. We could not touch our dog at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to lay my hands down on him to get him in line. But the whole thing is, should there be some responsibility lied on
the person who sells the dog, perhaps. Yeah. So right, just in case, because you can see where somebody who's got a dog like that would just try, if he couldn't bring himself to put it down, he would give it away and not say anything. and then the next person is in ignorance. I don't think the law covers that, because it's unless you actually issue dogs ID papers, there'd be no way to check, because you got dog collars, but I don't think they're required to carry a history of the dog. Let's go to Curtis Spanaway. Curtis, you're on News Talk 97.3 FM.
We just spoke.
We just spoke. Yeah, that's why, because you're number one there. I'm looking for number two. Thank you for the call, Curtis. Here's Rob in Olympia. That's what I'm looking for. Rob, you're on News Talk 97.3 KIRO FM.
Good morning, Dave.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I noticed one thing that the attorney didn't speak about was the history of the dog. The dog owner obviously knows whether this dog has attacked in the past or not. Mm-hmm. And regardless of the fact, animals or dogs are animals, and they're unpredictable. And dogs also have a personality just like humans, and they're prone to having a bad day every once in a while. Even the best of dogs can attack on a bad day. So, I kind of get frustrated with when dog owners let their dogs kind of run loose, saying, "Oh, this dog's safe, he's fine, he's harmless, he's never bitten before," when you just don't know, because they are so unpredictable. And the same thing goes for when you're walking around the big box stores and stuff, and you see people bringing their pets in. Oh, they're harmless, they're fine. Well, maybe they're fine to you, but you don't know how this dog is going to react to a certain...
You don't, but the law is pretty clear. If you, regardless of how innocent the dog looks, if you know that he's had a history of biting people, and you take him to a big box store and he lunges and bites somebody, you are strictly liable and are in big trouble. That's the lesson of this case. And that's something that I think pet owners should pay attention to. 11:42, coming up, the latest on scripture burning and lots more. Stand by.
This is the Dave Ross Show on News Talk 97.3 KIRO FM.
My new favorite star in the sky. Astronomers have discovered a new star, which they've nicknamed Lucy, after the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Why? Because this star, which is 4,000 kilometers across, which translates into some number of miles, I think 2,400. It's 50 light years from the Earth and the constellation Centaurus. It is the compressed heart of an old star that was once bright like our sun, but has collapsed in on itself and has created so much pressure that the center of it is one gigantic diamond. It is a crystallized white dwarf, which is the hot core of the star, which is left over after the fusion reaction stops. It is easily the biggest diamond ever discovered, completely outclassing the 546-carat Golden Jubilee. It is, how many carats did they say it was? I can't find it now. It's like a gazillion carats.
They used a number I'd never heard before. A billion,
here it is.
Trillion.
It's right here in bold. That's why I missed it. Twinkling in the sky is a diamond star of 10 billion trillion carats, according to astronomers.
Can you just stack the trillions like that? I had no idea.
That's got to be tough to get into one of those Antwerp gem markets, don't you think? They go shopping for those raw, uncut diamonds.
It just puts every engagement ring you've ever heard of to shame.
That's it. Now, what's the point? If that once those diamonds are on the market, diamonds will be they'll be like 3 cents each.
Because ladies are always comparing their rings and looking at their friends' rings and everything, but what's the point? It's all worthless now.
Well, that company that sells that names a star after you, just have them name that star after your sweetie and say, I've just given you a 10 billion trillion carat diamond. Try stepping out on me now.
I'm waiting. Hello.
That would draw you into its orbit. You wouldn't wear it. It would wear you. You would be a ring around it. Latest on scripture burning. Somebody else trying to get attention did just that. He put a video up on Splash News, an Australian lawyer named Alex Stewart, which shows him rolling his own using pages of the Quran and the Bible. In the video, he rips out, he displays the texts, rips out a page from each, rolls something into it. He says it was dried grass clippings, nothing illegal. And then smokes it and exclaims, holy. Just holy. And he has now been put, apparently, on leave from his job as an attorney for a university. He's a member of an atheist group in Brisbane. And the Queensland University of Technology, which employed him, says that they're very, very unhappy and disappointed that this sort of incident should occur. They ask people not to demonstrate. Please don't react. And his video has been taken down, so it won't be entertaining you. Let's see. How many more copycats like this will we have? On the Jay Leno Show, Bristol Palin was on, and normally there aren't many things that get me to leave the computer and sit down and watch Jay, but when he had Bristol Palin on, I knew that fireworks would ensue, especially when he asked her about Levi's decision to run for mayor of Wasilla.
Yeah.
Did you vote for him?
Well, he needs to move to Wasilla, to the city limits. And he needs to get his GED.
You got to get a GED.
And he needs to get his GED. Isn't that sweet? She's on Dancing with the Stars now. As I will be someday if I get good enough at this Thriller dance. Do we have that Thriller dance music? Where did I put it? Wait a second. Here it is. It's got to be someplace. Yeah, here it is. Yes. Right. Left. Right. Left. Take it back now. Right. Left. Right. Left. To the front now. Right. Anyway, I've got it down. I've got it down. The other sweet revenge, I guess, was Taylor Swift, who had a little song for Kanye West at the MTV Awards last night. And I thought it was sweet. The staff thinks it's boring, but I thought it was, this is the kind of relaxed, laid back, I forgive you song that we need more of in America.
Always a bigger bed to crawl into.
Always a bigger bed to crawl into.
Wasn't it beautiful when you believed in everything and everybody believed in you? It's alright, just wait and see. Your string of lights is still bright to me. Oh, who you are is not where you've been. You're still an innocent.
It's alright, just wait and see. Your streaming lights are bright to me. Who you are is not where you've been. Who you are is not what you did. Listen to her. Say it again. Lost her balance on a tightrope. Never too late to get it back.
Lost your balance on a tightrope. Oh, it's never too late to get it back.
See, isn't that sweet? Wake up in there. She can't take it.
Boring.
And Kanye West's response was, well, all class.
I'm so gifted at finding what I don't like the most. So I think it's time for us to have a toast. Let's have a toast for the douchebags. Let's have a toast for the asses. Let's have a toast for the scumbags. Every one of them that I know. Yeah. Let's have a toast for the jerk-offs that'll never take work off. Baby, I got a plan. Run away fast as you can. She find pictures in my email. I sent this girl a picture of my hate. I don't know what it is of females, but I'm not too good with that hate. Yeah. See, I can have me a good girl and still be addicted to them rags. And I just blame everything on you. At least you know that's what I'm good